after establishing the league and putting in a lot of work, I really felt like, this year was a big growth year for Betway SA20. Still, obviously, a lot of stuff for us to collate and reflect on and learn and be happy about, but and areas to improve as well. So, over the coming weeks, obviously, that will be our challenge now going forward. From the start, even before season one, that we, contractually locked down sort of to the 6 franchises for the first 5 seasons, that we wouldn't look to expand. We'd allow the league to develop and the teams to find their roots and grow. Obviously, I did feel, I guess the swell in sentiment of growing and adding new teams. Those are, I guess, areas where, with Cricket South Africa, you need to sit down and think about, how that looks into the future. As you say, which areas, are the best. We do get approached by franchises to be involved in Betway SA20, but, for the first 5 seasons, there was a commitment made that we wouldn't. I think, obviously, just a few areas that you'd need to consider is, you'd need to add another 30 South African players at least to the league. And, one thing that we want to maintain all the time is the strength of the cricket. So you need to assess, whether there's like another outstanding 30 players in the league. I think, growing the player base, creating competition amongst players, improving, the standards of the game is something that's important. And then you obviously need to look at, how you can make, wherever the franchises go, make it commercially viable for them as well. I guess when you're running an event at this scale, there's always things that you want to improve on. You're consistently thinking about your fan experiences. Just off the top of my head in reflection, I think, there's a lot of work that we behind the scenes are talking to Cricket South Africa about and jointly trying to improve, the upgraded before the 27 World Cup of stadiums, lights, RFPs that are in place. I think pitch standards is something that we can definitely, put some work into as we run up to the 27 World Cup. And then, just when every year, you learn where you can get a little bit slicker, look at different, like in year 2, we grew our digital landscape dramatically. What are the other opportunities that are coming? Looking at global best practices, what can we bring into the game in South Africa to improve the cricket and I guess the fan experiences. Engaging with our global broadcasters, getting feedback from everybody now is something that we'll, we send out surveys to our fans, to players, to everyone, and we collect as much feedback as possible, and then take that forward into season 4. Everyone that's involved that has experience in cricket or knows that the Indian market is key to the game. The fan base is huge. The commercial market is big, but for us, besides the fact that 6 of our partners, originated in the IPL and have grown globally, and we've got 6 IPL franchises that have invested in SA20. One of our biggest broadcast partners is over there now. So I guess when you want to grow and you want to challenge globally, you need the viewership and you need people to want to tune in. And I think those ultimately become the success points if you want to maintain, where you go into the future, how you grow, and Geo, Viacom have been an integral part of backing the league in the beginning parts of, when it was still a dream, we were still selling, the opportunity. Now, obviously, 3 seasons in, we haven't received our broadcast feedback. If there's 600 million eyeballs, we were hoping to get, close to 200, 250 on average. In India. So I think that really separates us from all the other leagues outside of India. I think Cricket South Africa made a decision once the private investment came in, is that, the league would provide the platform for players, but, a selection of players would come from the teams themselves. So we are working with Cricket South Africa, obviously, on growing, the talent pool, creating awareness, building on things. I think from our perspective now, you can see SA20 just 2.5 years in, and the grassroots programs that we personally investing in alongside Cricket South Africa, so under 19 girls camps, umpire exchange programs. Some of our under 19 coaches from the ladies went over and experienced, firsthand alongside some of our IPL teams, got experience. And then we launched schools this year. So I would say outside Cricket South Africa, we now are the single biggest investor back into the grassroots programs. And we continue to work with them on obviously improving all aspects, including, I guess, the transformation agenda as well. South Africa is in India till middle December, and then there's the T20 World Cup in February back in India. So, with no international fixture scheduled in South Africa, it gave us the opportunity to start a little bit earlier. In terms of where we'll play, we haven't sat down and done that fixturing yet. Getting these fixtures together, in such a short space of time is not an easy thing. It's probably one of that and player regulations need to be drafted quite quickly. So we need to get into that. I mean, obviously the trend that we've done in the first 2 seasons is to allow the winning team to host the opening game. So we need to reflect and see, you need to consider many factors from do you, for example, because of the holiday periods, do you start with more games in coastal areas and then move up to the Highveld after that? So there's a lot of different factors that you need to consider when you get into these things. But yeah, Boxing Day start, and it really does open up the opportunity to debate. Where do you have an Al Jazeera game? Do you have a New Year's Day game? These are all the things that we've got to consider and look at the pros and cons of how we can really maximize, I guess, the opportunities for fans in season 4. Yeah, I mean, again, we take our guidance from Cricket South Africa here as well, Keenan. So, as said before, for the first time, they've invested in a domestic contracting program. There's a big attempt to try and grow the talent pool across South Africa, and hence that's why we focused on the under 19 girls side and obviously schools. I guess there's a lot of complexities in that discussion now, with women's IPL happening pretty much in our window as well, with the Protea ladies schedule getting busier. There's a lot of complexities. I mean, I think for us, we would obviously sit down with Cricket South Africa now in reflection and start to see, what that future landscape looks like. There wasn't a lack of commitment there, but I think that's. Nathan, I think I've always, even in my playing days, when you see balls flying into stadiums, there's always a little bit of a fear factor. I can think of times when, even when I managed to hit a 6, that, it's going in there at pace. And yeah, I mean, obviously we always try and make sure that everyone's having a good time and safe. Yeah, I mean, obviously we hope that those things don't happen. In a stadium full of people, we take as much consideration for the safety of people as the event grows. You get also targeted in different ways. So security around stadiums, fan experiences, are become like things that we've got to just, develop and get better at. As more and more people come to your stadiums, there's different challenges that come your way. All the dates we've announced, we worked with Paletti and the scheduling team, on their understanding their FTP and where their tours are and how we could fit in. So these were the dates that we agreed with them in our workshops. So I'm not 100% sure on how the England tour is going to be split up. I can't remember off the top of my head, but these were dates that in our with Sivu and Oberking and Paletti, these are the dates that we worked on and were given to us by Cricket South Africa. Yeah, I mean, it's I think in the beginning, Zaya, we were very intentional about saying that for cricket to be successful into the future, we needed to revive a cricket fan again and then introduce a whole lot of new cricket fans to the game. I think that the future of cricket at one point, there was a lot of sort of uneasiness around the game, and it's really good to see how cricket in general has grown over the last couple of years. But pride in our crowd attendance is something that we never take for granted. Just a few, like as you said, 17 sold out games. Our final was sold out 15 or 16 days before the actual event this year, 3rd time in a row. I think we're nearing close to 400,000 tickets. Obviously, we're collecting as much data as possible now. And yeah, to see even an increase in season 3 in crowd attendance is amazing. But I think the other standout thing for me is, we're seeing a lot of kids back in our stadium. And this year I was, a couple of things that stood out for me was how many people traveled to experience a game from regions that don't have as you say, a team in their area, and then also how many people I ran into that were coming to cricket for the first time and loving it. So those, I think, for me, are the exciting metrics that stood out. I think it was opening game for me that the guy, one of the vendors selling donuts, came around the corner and got the biggest hug in the world. And just I think for us, we want to position ourselves as hopefully putting on the biggest event in South Africa on an annual basis. And each year we've put on an economic impact study. I mean, last year, the study showed that we brought 4 billion into the economy, created 8,500 jobs. Which is incredible. And I think that, on an annual basis, if we can continue to do that, I think it's just terrific for, the events, the sports industry, and in particular, those working around the game of cricket, and, there's a lot of impact through the sporting ecosystem, which we're very proud of. This year, we'll obviously do the same. Once that report is done, we'll definitely share it with you. But, it's the little things that, people don't see that, I guess, really do make a big impact across the country.